Welcome to today's Vlogmas episode. It is Vlogmas day 5, and today I'm doing a highly requested video that has been requested so many times over the past few weeks, if not months. And I'm so excited to be doing this because, as you can see, actually I don't know if you can see, but my bookshelves are pretty messy and not super well organized at the moment. In my last bookshelf organization video, I kind of tried to section off my books by books that I have read and then books that I haven't read. And that was an interesting experiment. I kind of wanted to do it in order to get myself to read more of the books that I physically own. I don't think that actually worked at all. So instead, I think today we're going to try to go back to the way that I used to organize my books, which was mainly by genre. I really like the way that organizing my books by genre looks, and it's so much easier for me to pick out books that I really want to read. And also I think that maybe trying to separate the books that I have read and haven't read was a little bit too much pressure. So we're just going to do it a little bit differently. We're going to kind of see what naturally ends up taking place. But yeah, just wanted to quickly intro this video, and I'm so excited to go through my bookshelves and organize with you all. Okay, so honestly, I think that there are some things that I do really enjoy about the way I've organized my books lately, and that's mainly like this section right here. I like the books that I have right here. Those I don't really want to move anywhere. And then I also like the books that I have put over here. So I think that the top section right here, and then also probably the top section up here, which you can't really see, those are probably not going to be touched because I do like the way that they look. I think that they look totally fine. And those two little sections have not steered me wrong yet. But I do have a couple books that are just like floating around everywhere. Like I have these in my hand. I have Babel and Blood Marked and Take My Hand. All of these books need to find homes. Oh, and also Lake's Edge, which I got recently. These all need to find homes. And also, I don't think that I'm going to be changing this either. I think we're going to keep the books on the book cart exactly how they are. I think that they look totally fine. So we're also going to disregard this. My bookshelves organized previously, the books that were on these two main shelves were more like fantasy books, and you know, now as you can see I have some like romance and literary fiction and contemporary books. So I think that I kind of want to get rid of these ones, move them to a different shelf, and then keep the more like fantasy classics, stuff like that, over here. Okay, so we took a bit of a break, and this is the progress so far. I don't know if you can see, I have done about 6 shelves so far. This one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. I do have some that are just kind of floating around, but I will kind of walk you through what I'm thinking of right now. This one, I feel like is my dark academia slash fantasy, but like there's usually like a historical fantasy or like a gothic fantasy or whatever. So I feel like this one is kind of our like mixed bag of fantasy. And then this one is my full classic shelf. Like all of these are classics. It's all of my classics. And then this one is my half Shakespeare, half sort of miscellaneous fantasy slash historical fiction. And then this one is like my full YA fantasy shelf. Just all YA fantasy. Same with this shelf, all YA fantasy. This shelf is mainly like sci-fi, and that's everything. So that's all I've worked on so far. I still have a lot of books to put away, but I'm going to try to be quick about it because I do want to get this done today. And my entire bed is just filled with like books and knickknacks from my shelves. So we need to get on that. And I know I said I wasn't going to touch the top shelf, but I actually did. I have put some books up there and I've taken some away. So that's where we're at the moment. Also, I kind of want to make an iced coffee, so we'll see if I can do that. And then I'll get back into my organization for today. Okay, so coffee is secured. Made a cup of coffee that was actually a way bigger ordeal than I thought it was going to be. But as you can see, the sun is setting. The sun is going down. The sun actually might be already almost fully down. It's only 4:30 and we still have a lot of ways to go. So we might as well keep going. I might have to break out my ring light. We'll have to see what ends up happening. Okay, so I finished. I am all done. And I think I did a really, really good job. It was definitely really difficult, and there are obviously some books that like I haven't shelved yet, mainly because they're on my TBR currently, and I don't like to keep those books on my shelf. I like to take them off. So we probably will have to reconfigure it a little bit later, but that's a problem for future Allie, not for current Allie. So yeah, I'm gonna show you around a little bit. I'm not gonna go into too much detail and depth, but I did want to show you what it's going to look like now. Okay, I almost forgot to put all of my little decorations back up on my shelf, but I think that I got a pretty good configuration. I don't know, I'll probably mess around with it after this video is done, but here we go. So at the very top, pretty typical for what I usually have up here. A lot of fantasy books, a lot of just like interesting new releases, stuff like that. Books I've bought recently. I think it looks pretty good up there. And then this one is, like I said earlier, mainly dark academia, fantasy, historical fantasy, gothic fantasy, all that jazz. And then over on this side is my classic shelf. So all of the classics that I own are on this shelf. It's kind of nice to have one shelf that's dedicated to quote-unquote classics. I think some of them are kind of debatable on whether they're classics or not, but they kind of fit the shelf theme, so we're putting them on there. And then the one right below it is mainly YA fantasy, like I said. And then also my Shakespeare shelf and sort of like miscellaneous fantasy. And then all my sci-fi books, actually not all of them, I think one of them is missing because I kept forgetting that that's a sci-fi book, but it's okay, it's not that big of a deal. And then this one, more YA fantasy. It's so wild how much YA fantasy I still have and still love, so that's nice. And then more YA fantasy down here, more YA fantasy, mainly series over here. This one didn't really change all that much, and then this one is just more fantasy, more YA stuff, more adult stuff. And then my book cart didn't change all that much, or even at all, I think, so we're not going to go into that. And then up top, I actually took away some of the books that were leaning against this stack, and I guess we'll have some room up here if I ever want to put more books up here. That didn't change at all. And then of course just more fantasy on this shelf, more fantasy, and some like non-fantasy. And then over here, back here, we have a lot of like contemporary romance, historical romance, stuff like that. And then these two bottom ones did not change basically at all. And then we move on to this shelf, and this one didn't change all that much. It's really basically the same few genres. Like at the top up here we have like contemporary romance, literary fiction, that kind of stuff. Same thing with this row right here. And then this bottom one is basically some of my thrillers and horror books, and then some like miscellaneous YA in the middle and kind of towards the end as well, and then my records. And then up here on my little tiny shelf on my wall, I did put my little mirror ball / disco ball strand of lights up here, and I think it looks pretty cute. At least it has somewhere to go. And then I just put a lot of the books that I've already read up here, like My Year of Rest and Relaxation, Heavy, Luster, Where Hope Comes From, The Roughest Draft, People Meet on Vacation, My Body. So most of these I've already read, some of them I haven't, but it's just kind of miscellaneous, literary fiction, romance, etc, etc, etc. Also, I almost forgot, but we should open up my advent calendar. It is the 5th today, so we are trying to find number 5. I remember this one was pretty difficult to find when I first got it. Okay, it's right here. Let's open it up. Right there. I have no idea what that shape is. Not even the slightest clue. I guess it's kind of like a little hat. Yeah, just like a little hat. Really weird shape. I'm not sure. I hope you all enjoyed getting to watch me put together all the books up on my bookshelf, getting to organize them and figure out where they're gonna go. I had a really fun time doing it, and if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. All the links are down below, and I will see you all in Vlogmas Day 6.